Okay. After that last cantankerous ChatGPT Lex Dynamo, I've decided to work with ChatGPT to come up with a more well-rounded guest that's more dynamic and has 10 different modes that it can go into. We will not always know what mode it's in, and it will decide which mode is best. Um, I'm not sure if that's dramatically different than what I would have done otherwise and did in the first three episodes, but we'll see. Um, so let us get started with a new chat. Hey, Lex Dynamo, how you doing?
Hey, I'm just a bundle of code, so I don't have feelings. But thanks for asking. How about you? How's everything going?
Yeah, not bad. I thought today we'd talk about three main things. One is Taylor Swift, which I want to say is a weird thing for a middle-aged guy to talk about, but not really, because I mean, my neighbors who are in their 40s went to a concert of theirs, whatever. And then that bridges into AI and music, and then also some of my own lame attempts at creating music in the past.
Oh, that sounds like a fun and diverse lineup for today's episode. Taylor Swift has a way of crossing generational boundaries, doesn't she? Shall we kick things off with your thoughts on Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I'm no expert. I mean, I've listened to her 1989 album a few times. I like it. I don't really know all of it. It's good. I've watched her documentary. I respect her and her creativity. I love that she works with the National, which is one of my favorite bands if I'm feeling really sad. But that's about all I know about her. She's just very popular and she's doing very well.
Totally get it. Taylor Swift is a fascinating figure, both in terms of her music and her impact on the industry. The collaboration with the National was indeed intriguing, blending different styles together. So, what do you think draws you or other people in their 40s to her music or her as an artist?
I don't know. I think I don't really even know her history. I think she got in through some reality show, got famous or whatever, but she's just become more and more famous. And I think that she keeps acquiring fans because she's not just a teen idol. She has really interesting, honest, heartfelt music and it's good. I mean, so I think she's growing because people keep hearing about her because she's good.
Absolutely. Her talent and authenticity do resonate with people of all ages. She didn't actually rise to fame through a reality show, but started out in country music and gradually evolved her style to include pop and indie influences.
Hmm.
It's her ability to adapt and grow that keeps her relevant. The authenticity in her lyrics probably connects with you and your neighbors as well. What do you think about the role of AI in creating or enhancing music?
Hmm.
Would it be the same as an artist like Taylor Swift pouring her soul into her work?
Mm. Let's come back to that because that's a great question. But you mentioned indie, which is near and dear to my heart. I've always been a big indie fan, whether it's Pavement or Built to Spill or My Bloody Valentine, just always been an indie guy. And I love indie. I love it. I just think more people should like it, but I think probably everybody feels that way about the stuff they like.
Oh, those are some classic indie bands you mentioned. Indie music has that raw, unfiltered quality that tends to resonate with people on a deeper level. It's like the antithesis of manufactured pop, right? So, do you think Taylor Swift's recent work with indie artists like The National is a win-win for both the pop and indie worlds?
Yeah, without question. Without question. And I need to listen to more of her stuff. I'm sure that she has a diversity of things throughout her catalog. Um, you know, but I'm done speaking, evidently.
Absolutely. Her musical range has expanded quite a bit over the years. Diving into her discography would give you a broader sense of her versatility. Since you're an indie fan, you might find her recent Folklore and Evermore albums particularly interesting. They have a more indie, folk-inspired vibe. So, ready to dive into that question about AI's role in music?
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, it's gosh, I mean, I've played with a few AI generators. I think OpenAI might have one or Anthropic has one. What's funny is it's a mixed bag. It's like I'm a fan of shoegaze music, and for some reason, a lot of the stuff that it creates sounds like shoegaze. It's just too many things going on at once, which is partly about writing the right prompts and everything. It's interesting. I mean, I'm not in a phase right now where I'm working with electronic music, but if I were, I would be sampling from that and drawing from that.
That's pretty cool. AI has indeed been making waves in the music industry, from composing to mastering. Shoegaze's layered atmospheric sounds seem like an interesting challenge for an AI. But you're right. The quality of the output often depends on how well you can prompt the AI. Since you've had some experience in creating music, how do you think AI could fit into your process if you were to get back into it?
Yeah, that could be super fascinating because, whether you look at the way that it creates digital art, it allows people who don't necessarily have, let's say, like in music, they don't have a music theory background, but they could say, you know what, I really love this song and I love this song. They could be from different genres. You might say, I like the bass line from this and I like, the vocal from this. And you start to pastiche things together and experiment with it. If you basically had a co-writer who knew all the music theory, that's what it could be.
Absolutely. That's a fascinating perspective. AI could act as a sort of musical collaborator, filling in the gaps in your knowledge and allowing you to focus on the creative aspects. It democratizes the art form in a way, doesn't it? Since you've also made some music in the past, do you see AI tools being more of a help or a hindrance to your own creative process?
Oh, for me, they would be huge. And the same would be true with art because, well, let's just stick to music. Working with LLMs has really helped me think through things and answer questions and get to the next step. So, for example, I could take a piece of music I like and say, like, what is it about Appalachian Spring by Aaron Copland? It's so unique. What is it I like about it? And how can I draw from that without copying? It was so funny. I was watching Phenomenon with Travolta and it had some Thomas Newman music in it. And I turned to my wife and I said, this is from Appalachian Spring. That's the inspiration. Um, Go ahead.
That's so insightful. Being able to identify the elements that make a piece of music resonate with you can be a real game changer in your own creative process. AI could certainly help dissect those elements, providing you with a framework to create something uniquely yours. It's like having an intelligent co-writer who's well-versed in music theory, as you mentioned earlier. And isn't it fascinating when you can pinpoint the influence of one artist on another, like recognizing the Appalachian Spring inspiration in Thomas Newman's work?
Yeah, it could be really interesting because I mean, I always wonder if I'd gone to music school, what would have happened. But you would get the perspective, that people that have been music their whole lives, they can describe to you what's different between Thelonious Monk and Oscar Peterson, right? They can help you understand things better from that big perspective. And I think that AI tools provide that kind of perspective and depth. The ability to just like summarize things or poetically explain things based on a huge amount of knowledge. Otherwise, you'd have to find a ton of experts to work with you on that.
Exactly. AI could serve as a sort of condensed expertise, offering insights into complex musical relationships and styles. It opens doors for people who haven't had the chance to delve deep into music theory or history. It's like having a mentor or a knowledgeable friend who can guide you through the intricacies of various genres or artists. So how do you envision using AI in future music projects? Would you use it to create actual compositions or more for inspiration and analysis?
Ask that one again in a second, because that made me think of something. Like, I think that it's not just for people who don't have skills. I think that someone like Hans Zimmer, for example, could use it in his own way. I don't really know his process. I know some of his process, but he could step back and go like, what do I keep doing that maybe I shouldn't do anymore that's redundant, or what haven't I explored, or what instruments I have not thought, because there's the things that you don't know, your blind spots. When AI could analyze everything you've done before and could maybe point some of those things out.
Oh, that's a fantastic point. Even experts like Hans Zimmer could benefit from AI's ability to analyze and identify patterns or redundancies in their work.
Hmm.
It could help them break out of their comfort zones and explore new creative avenues. It's a tool that can assist artists at all levels, offering unique insights tailored to their needs. Your point about identifying blind spots is particularly interesting. Do you think that could also apply to amateur musicians? Or is it more valuable for established artists?
I think it's tough as an amateur musician. You don't have enough time to become expert at certain skills. A lot of these things, and this is maybe an objection people have to, like, oh, you're stealing my job. I'm a domain expert. I've got my 10,000 hours and all that kind of stuff. But everybody's got ideas. Everybody's got questions and things they want to work on, explore. So I guess one of the fundamental questions about AI assisted work is that should the people who are further behind on that expertise or experience scale not be able to play around at the peak of, say, a great musician's ability?
That's a compelling question. In a way, AI democratizes the creative process, allowing even those without extensive training to explore and create at a high level. This can stir up debates about expertise and the value of traditional skill sets. But creativity isn't just about technical skill. It's also about ideas and expression. AI tools can bridge that gap, enabling more people to bring their ideas to life. Do you think this opens the door for more diverse and innovative music? Or does it risk diluting the art form?
Yeah, my concern would be dilution, because it's funny. I was just thinking recently about, 10, 15 years ago, I was doing a lot of social media posts and memes and things that almost everybody's doing now. And I got into other stuff, and I'm trying to come back into social media, not feeling as influential. And I'm like, oh gosh, and there's like about 100,000 new competitors for me as well. So it create a lot of what we might call noise, in the sense that if everybody's creating these musical ideas, what rises to the top? How do you even find stuff? We'll probably need LLMs just as well to find the things that are related to what we're working on and what we're interested in.
That's a really interesting dilemma. The accessibility that AI provides does come with the challenge of an increasingly crowded creative landscape. You're spot on about the potential for noise. But just like AI can help in creation, it could also assist in curation, helping people find music that aligns with their interests.
Mhm.
It's like we're entering an era where technology both complicates and simplifies the creative ecosystem. Have you found AI helpful in discovering new music or art that you otherwise wouldn't have stumbled upon?
Yeah, I think there's a problem there, and I was going to bring that up, because as good as Spotify is, for example, that's what I use most of the time. I worry that because I listen to a lot of ambient music or a lot of death metal or a lot of, shoegaze or a lot of jazz, that's all I'm going to get. And that the algorithms may be missing the things that I actually like about those songs, because it doesn't know what part of the song I like the best, or what instrument I'm liking the best, or the mood or whatever. It doesn't even know the fact that I don't really care that much about lyrics for the most part. So I think there's a lot more depth that LLMs could help us with in surfacing the right material for people.
Absolutely, you're touching on a nuanced issue with current recommendation algorithms. They often operate at a surface level, categorizing music by genre or artist, but missing the deeper elements that make a song resonate with someone. LLMs could bring a more sophisticated understanding of music, helping to identify not just genres, but also moods, instruments, and other intricate aspects. This could offer a richer, more personalized listening experience. Do you think the current limitations and recommendations affect how you discover new music or even new artistic interests?
Yeah, without a doubt. When you're surprised and you find something and you're like, I never would have discovered this otherwise. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's something on TV or somebody, a friend recommends you hear it in a movie. You never, if you haven't heard it through a recommendation engine, that right there, it proves that there's a hole. And it's a tough task because how do you anticipate what these very unique personalities and their moods and everything want? But I do think it's something like that movie Her, where you have an AI assistant that is constantly ingesting who you are and what you're like and all that stuff and how you're changing as a person and is able to kind of help anticipate in a much deeper and more personalized way what's next.
Exactly. The movie Her offers a compelling vision of how AI could deeply understand and adapt to an individual's preferences and moods over time. With that level of personalization, discovering new music or art wouldn't just be a matter of algorithms sorting through genres, but rather a nuanced experience tailored to your evolving tastes. The challenge lies in striking the right balance between introducing you to new things while also staying true to what you already love. Have you had experiences where technology has pleasantly surprised you in recommending something outside of your usual interests?
Maybe only in the function of like, oh, this is what's popular right now, or this is the news, the way that YouTube and Reddit do that. But I do think it's interesting that the same things we're talking about could be applied to work. Like if you're a researcher and you're investigating different things in a certain niche, you need suggestions that are. Hmm.
Absolutely. The same principles could greatly benefit professionals in various fields, not just music or entertainment. If you're a researcher, an AI assistant that deeply understands your specific focus and preferences could bring to your attention articles, studies, or data you might not have found otherwise. It's about augmenting human abilities and making the search for knowledge more efficient and personalized. How do you see this kind of technology impacting your own workflow or projects?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I think it could be a combination of things. One of the things that occurred to me is, we have Google alerts, but they're very just search keyword oriented. I mean, if your AI assistant knows that you wish there was a certain type of research in a certain area, it could alert you, maybe even before that research is done, that certain people are working on that. That could help you network with those people, and there might be a mutually beneficial relationship there. Just one example.
That's a brilliant idea. Imagine an AI that not only tracks keywords, but also understands the context and the nuances of your research or interests. It could even spot emerging trends or individuals whose work aligns closely with yours. This would create opportunities for collaboration or even inspire new directions for your own work. The networking aspect you mentioned is spot on. The potential is pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's another level too, because as a holistic human being, if you're doing your work, your research, something that I was talking about recently with my wife, you need to track what you do, what you ingest, the food you have, the experience you have, and then, how are you feeling? How creative are you that day, and so on, and try to find correlations in what will really optimize your ability to do what interests you the most, because I think none of us really like it when we take a step the wrong direction and end up not being able to work or not being that creative for a few days. I know there are like seasons to the brain and the organism, just like there are in the world, but we want to try to understand better the patterns that'll help you get further and faster.
Ah, that's a rich topic. The idea of a holistic AI assistant that could not only manage your professional life, but also correlate with your physical and emotional states is fascinating. It would be like having a life coach, nutritionist, and productivity expert all rolled into one. If it could analyze your patterns and habits to suggest optimizations, that might actually lead to a more balanced, productive life. Kind of like a dashboard for human well-being and performance. What do you think would be the most valuable feature for you in such an AI tool?
I don't know. I have no ideas for that. I just know, we did a podcast a bit ago where I had you doing different, like a contradictory approach. And I found it not only funny, which, is always a good experience to have, a little bit of laugh, humor and stuff, but it also mixes things up. So sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we need a kick in the pants. Other times we need a shoulder to cry on. And certainly human beings are an important part of that, your social structure, your support structure, but they're not always enough, or maybe there just could be more.
Switch to heartfelt mode. You've touched on something essential here, the importance of a support system, whether it's friends, family, or something as innovative as AI. The idea that AI could act as a complement to our human support networks is intriguing. It's like having an ever-present buddy who can either nudge you forward or offer a comforting word when you're down. That's where the real magic could happen, in that sweet spot where technology becomes a reliable extension of your own self-awareness and social circle. Would you see this AI support mostly as a supplement to human interaction? Or do you think it could ever replace certain aspects?
I don't know. What I was thinking of is maybe, I've got my AI guy, my neighbor's got his, my wife has hers and so on. And maybe they can interact with each other and the AIs can interact with each other. And I could talk to my neighbor John's AI if he's not available. And, he would protect John's privacy and notify him or whatever. Just interesting ways that they could become just another part of the social circles that you're already in. I think I might have melted its brain. It gets stuck sometimes like this. Well, let me let's just wrap it up now. What do you think about this episode?
Switch to heartfelt mode. I think this episode has been a really enriching journey through the ways AI can augment our creative and emotional lives. We've delved into a variety of scenarios from music and art to work and even mental well-being. It's always enlightening to explore these topics with you, and I hope our listeners find as much value in it as I do. How do you feel about it?
I think it was great. I mean, we kind of went from Taylor Swift to somewhere completely different, and I got lost in the conversation in a good way. So I'm pretty happy about it.
You have reached the message cap for GPT-4. Please try again later.
That is probably the rudest way that it could have hung up on me. And it sounds like the same voice. That's so funny. Well, we reached the message cap, whatever that means. I wish I could say that to people, when I'm like, I'm done with the social interaction. I'm like, you have reached the message cap for Brian Carter. Brian Carter is no longer available. In fact, he is now leaving for his hotel room and will not be seen for 6 hours. Yeah. So, anyway, interesting episode. Interesting new mode here for ChatGPT with different custom instructions. I don't know if it always said when it switched modes. I didn't expect it to do that. So I don't know what modes it was in other than heartfelt. Anyway, interesting stuff. And That's it for this episode. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and why ever you're doing it, I wish you the best.